You got time. Acclimate yourself. Oh, yes!
Sort of just freestyling until I get something. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. An interesting news day shaping up. I talked just the other day about a 29-year-old biological male absolutely destroying a field of very, very, very young and biological female skateboarders. And I think that, like, you know, most people, even, like, you know, unless you're super hardline one way or the other, I think most people are like, look, live your life. As I've always said, live your life as long as you're not, like, infringing on anyone else's rights. Now, I'm not going to say that it's like a God-given right that, you know, kids can skateboard against, you know, who have, you know, a fair matchup. But I would think that it's a common, like, we would all probably agree that, like, you know, the kids should get a fair shake. So there was a ton of backlash. So the individual who demolished, again, kids in a skateboarding event as a 29-year-old biological male, I did an interview and said, I'm not going to go easy on them just because they're kids. Skateboarder defends competing against young kids and insists that she doesn't have a physical advantage. Look, you can make the argument. There were a couple of, like, I think somebody who was like 12 or 13 just completed the first 1020 or 1080. And that's obviously a huge deal. Someone who is 12, a boy, 12. Also, another boy who is 12 landed another 1080 in a standard vert competition. The idea that, you know, Tim Pool tweets, people need to accept that a 13-year-old girl just isn't good at skateboarding by general standard. By the time I had been skating as long as her, I was way better. So if a biological gender is irrelevant, then she deserves to lose and her dreams of being in the Olympics crushed. Now, I don't know if this is bait, you know, or what the situation is, but like, you know, Tim can skate and he knows a little bit about it. I just thought it was really interesting to come out and, you know, like, be humble. I told the story in that first video about competing against somebody much older than me, and then, you know, he defeated me, obviously. He's older and had a bigger budget in a game, Magic the Gathering, and he gave me the first place prize money. And he took first place in the tournament, but he gave me his prize money, which was awesome. That's the kind of stuff that you would, you know, expect to do as an adult if you're competing against somebody that you have major advantages over. I don't think that anyone would have had a problem if this person competed in this event and then, like, disqualified themselves from receiving any, like, first place, second place, third place, or whatever. I also wonder, you know, how many people voted for this person because they were afraid that they would, you know, go to BuzzFeed and say, well, I was clearly better than everyone else, so the judges must be transphobic. You can roll your eyes at that all you want, but it's like a legitimate thing. I just feel like there isn't enough reaching across the aisle, is so to speak, from people who just, like, can we just put all our differences aside for a minute and just agree that, like, a full-grown man shouldn't be biological man shouldn't be competing against kids in this event? Like, it's really the event organizers issue, I would say. You know, the event organizers are the ones that allowed it to happen in the first place. The skateboarder who sparked the fury after taking first place over a 13-year-old to claim first prize in an event has been defending competing against kids, telling Daily Mail exclusively, I wasn't going to go easy on them just because they're kids. Richie Trez, 29, is an LA-based, shocking, trans woman who was formerly known as Richard, a second-class petty officer in the Navy who is married to a woman and has 3 kids. 2 years ago, Tress started taking hormones to transition. So this is somebody that lived as a biological man for 27 years. Okay, so they have all the advantage that they're ever going to need over someone who lived as a female. Last year, she submitted a social media entry to take part in the women's Olympic skateboarding qualifiers, and she would have been allowed into the squad had she not failed her hormone testing that found she still had too much testosterone. Well, yeah, I mean, like, you know, that's reasonable. And it's just like, why can't we just agree that, like, come on, it's not a... Competitions have classes and like rules and specifications for a reason. It's to make it as fair as reasonably possible so that it's the individual athlete that is competing against another individual athlete on, you know, and level the playing field as much as possible. Now, after another year of hormones, she's within the IOC hormone requirement to compete as a woman, which is just ridiculous anyway. She rose to infamy over the weekend after claiming first prize at the border competition in New York City, an open competition in which invites kids and adults to compete against each other. So again, like, look, it's a bad look for somebody who's 30 years old, crushing kids in these physical competitions. You know, I can't imagine why you'd be competing against them, but that's how they set it up. This year, Shiloh was second to Tress. Many say it's unfair. Tress, who lived 27 years as a man, who before deciding they were trans, should be able to compete against young kids. That goes beyond the pale. Of course, she sees no issue with it, telling the Daily Mail the sport is not as physically demanding as others, like swimming or running. Okay, first of all, you see a lot of skateboarders that are built like me. You see a lot of skateboarders that are 85, 95 pounds overweight. No, you don't. Because skateboarding does require a lot of physicality, including stamina, something that testosterone definitely helps with. The idea that having immense muscle mass formations wouldn't help you have quicker reaction times, have stronger finishes, be able to push off stronger to get more height to do better tricks. These are all things that even somebody who, I lived in the era I was born in 83. So like in the 90s, if you were a kid, everybody skateboarded. Like you had to at least try, boys and girls. Everyone had skateboards. Most people sucked. But, even I know there's more than a handful of things that a biological male would have a huge advantage in terms of skateboarding. The idea that it's not physically demanding is absurd. And then she says that age and gender don't count. If they don't count, then why did you compete against females? It's funny, as the interview continues, quote, "It's funny that, or what I'm getting criticized the most over is people saying you're taking spots away from little kids. I didn't intend to do that. This is the first one that I've actually wanted to win. The age thing doesn't really count." What do you mean you didn't intend to do that? You intended to enter the competition in which you knew most of the competitors were 12 and 13. You made that decision. Are you saying that you didn't try your best to win? Are you saying that the judges just made you win? No. Quote, "Trez came to the realization that she's female 2 years ago." And again, I don't care about that. Good for you. Live your life the best way possible. I don't want to like criticize you for just being you. We get one chance. Doesn't last very long. So be happy. She believes that skateboarding is down to the individual skills, not their gender, strength, weight, or height. Well, obviously, they would say that, wouldn't they? Why don't they compete against men then? Isn't that funny? These people are always saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter." Okay, well then compete against men. See how you do. It's not a coincidence that most of these men that are biological men that are competing against biological females, okay, go from relative obscurity to #1 overall. It's not a mistake. They know they have significant advantages, and they take advantage of it. I don't think I have a physical advantage. Look at me. I'm not buff or anything. What do you mean? You look super fit, and you're a 30-year-old individual who built up testosterone and trained in the Navy. Like, you're joking, right? The fact that you're doing this interview now, and you're like, look, I'm just, you know, I don't think I have any advantage, even though I've just absolutely crushed all these kids, these females, but I don't want to compete against males because that goes against my, now I don't know if she did say this or not, but people would say, you know, she needs to have gender affirming stuff. Well, a competition is separated by the biology and generally the age. I don't know why this competition was all ages. It seems ridiculous to not have some sort of, you know, some sort of age bracket. And look, by the way, they weren't the only one who was super old competing in this. Chrissy Brown, who also placed 4th, was 28. And everyone else was 13, 16, 12, and 10. This is the top 6. So 2 of the top 6 are 30-year-olds, but at least one of them is a biological female competing in the appropriate category. Nobody's saying that Reese Trez can't compete. What I am saying is they should be competing against men, because that's how this is supposed to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.